He warned us not once, not twice, but for years. President Trump told the American people that California's radical environment agenda wasn't just about electric cars. It was about control. Control over how we move, control over what we drive, control over who wins, who loses, and who is left behind. But it gets even worse than that, guys, because while the media was cheering on gas-powered car bans, you heard about the gas car bans, right? Well, they were also clapping for climate justice. Our enemies were watching this whole thing go down, and they weren't just watching, they were preparing. So this week, California's 2035 electric vehicle mandate was set to become untouchable. But then Trump torched it, not with an executive order that could be overturned, but with the 3 permanent laws that obliterated the progressive roadmap. And just as the ink dried, guys, Iran fired over 200 missiles. Not a drill, not a test. An all-out coordinated strike on Israel. Cities went dark, sirens wailed, civilians, families running for shelter. Absolute madness. And while the world scrambled to essentially process what was happening, U.S. warships were already on the move. That's right, guys. America's military under Trump intervened. Dozens of Iranian missiles, they were shot out of the sky with U.S. support. Airspace sealed, defense systems active, and Trump calm, focused, ready, because he saw it coming. He warned that if we didn't stand strong at home, we would be attacked abroad. He warned that the California agenda was a Trojan horse, and if we let it stand, it would only open the gates to more economic collapse, infrastructure failure, and foreign aggression. And now, guys, what we're watching is we're watching the prophecy unfold in real time. So today I want to go ahead and break down the e-mandate that nearly destroyed the American trucking industry, why California's green revolution would have cost trillions of dollars and collapsed bridges nationwide. And of course, we got to talk about the exact moment that President Trump shut it down and how he essentially made it legally bulletproof. Iran's massive attack on Israel and why the U.S. responded with force, the damage to Iran's nuclear program and the explosions in Tehran, the warship redeployments that just changed the power balance in the Middle East, and most importantly, guys, why this was all a part of one coordinated doctrine. It was a two-front strike, domestic and foreign. This was not chaos. This was not a coincidence. This was clearly a strategy, guys. So, hey, President Trump warned us. And now he's proving that he was right. And so if you think that this week was intense, wait till you see what is coming up next that could entirely shake the whole global order. Hey, if you guys appreciate the daily news updates, take a second, hit the like button for the video. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. I truly do appreciate your support. Hey guys, before any missile was launched, before any legislation was signed, President Trump, he warned us. You guys remember, right? He warned us that the radical left was using California as a launch pad, not for innovation, but for infiltration. Years ago, he said that so-called green regulations were not about helping the planet. They were about strangling America's economy, crippling our infrastructure, and forcing us into dependency on foreign powers like China. And he was right. For decades, California has been using, it's awful. It's literally awful. This is why a lot of people cannot wait to see Gavin Newsom leave office. For decades, California has been used as the experimental lab for the globalist policy. It's basically a test site for ideas that could never pass on a national level. But if they can get it through in California, then they can try to pressure companies in other states and even Washington, D.C. to fall in line. And so President Trump warned that if we didn't fight it there, it would spread everywhere. And that warning, it just became reality. And now he's fighting back, not with talk, but with law. Now, of course, we need to talk about this whole EV mandate that would have crushed America's infrastructure and supply chain up until Trump nuked it with 3 bulletproof bills. Guys, you ever open your Medicare bill and you kind of feel like your stomach just dropped out of your chest? Well, that used to be Julie from Kansas, right up until Chapter helped her ditch a bad plan and save $400 a year. Cecil Frith, Sr. He said, look, I'm saving $166 a month. When all you've got is Social Security, that is a sweet raise. Guys, it's not magic. It's Chapter. This is what they do. They save everyone money. So or at least that's their objective. Some people, they're already on a great plan. And that's the thing I love about Chapter. They're honest. If you're already on the best plan, they're going to tell you. But if they can save you money just like they did for Cecil and just like they did for many others, including Julie from Kansas, they're going to do it for you. Give our friends at Chapter a call right now. Phone number is 909-563-8279, or better yet, hit them up on their website 24 hours a day at askchapter.org/Ron. Link in the pinned comment or in the description down below. So guys, let's go ahead and break this down. Back in 2022, California passed one of the most extreme mandates in American history. By 2035, every new vehicle sold had to be electric, no exceptions. And they weren't done. They wanted to eliminate 75% of gas-powered trucks, the very backbone of our nation's supply chain. Sounds noble, right? But let me ask you this, guys. Would you be willing to give up your gas-powered truck or gas-powered car? Let me know. Because the truth is, EV trucks actually weigh over 2.5 times more than diesel trucks, which means they cannot safely travel over most bridges and highways in the United States. And we're not talking about, future inconvenience. We're talking about massive logistical failure. Think about it, right? Infrastructure collapse and the bankrupting of America's trucking industry. One company with 28,000 trucks told Trump point blank, "Sir, if this goes through, we're done. We're out of business overnight." And Trump listened. He didn't just issue an executive order that could be challenged or reversed. He signed 3 separate pieces of legislation that permanently shut the door on California's radical mandate. That's right, guys. Permanent law, not a band-aid, not some kind of court challenges, no loopholes. The EV mandate is dead. And the left, they panicked. Outrage on MSNBC, emergency climate statements, California's top lawmakers are threatening lawsuits, but it really didn't matter. President Trump just delivered a knockout punch to the most extreme environmental policy in American history, and he did it just before it could go national. So while California was melting down, Iran made their move. Explosions in Jerusalem, 200 plus missiles and U.S. warships on the move. So what really triggered the strike, and why did President Trump, why Trump didn't actually flinch in one bit, guys? President Trump just stood strong and said, "Yeah, I got something for you." Well, let me tell you something, guys. The media was throwing tantrums over electric trucks and green mandates. Iran launched an attack. And I don't mean just threats. I mean over 200 ballistic missiles and more than 100 armed drones fired at Israel from multiple directions in what can only be described as a coordinated act of war. From dusk till dawn, explosions lit up the sky. Guys, Jerusalem shook. Sirens screamed. People, families rushed out of their homes in the dark. Some carried their children while some clutched their pets. Others never even made it. 3 lives were lost, more than 70 wounded, and cities across Israel left shaken and on high alert. But this wasn't random. This actually came within hours of President Trump crushing California's California mandate and their climate agenda, and signaling to the world that America was back in control of its own future. Well, Iran responded. They sure did, because that's what bullies do when the lights suddenly come on. They lash out. But what they didn't count on was Trump's response. Now, of course, we need to talk about what happened when the U.S. forces joined Israel's defense, how Iran's nuclear systems were obliterated in hours, and why Tehran is now scrambling to respond. Guys, it gets even bigger, believe it or not. So President Trump, he clearly did not hesitate. American military assets were activated almost immediately, and alongside Israel's Iron Dome, U.S. forces helped intercept and shoot down dozens of Iranian missiles. Think about that, guys. Under President Trump, the United States didn't just make statements, we took action. Real-time defense, real firepower, real coordination. And Israel, well, they didn't hold back either. They launched targeted retaliatory strikes deep into Iran, not just surface level warning shots. Guys, I'm talking 40 Iranian military systems destroyed, at least 20 senior Iranian commanders killed, strikes on Tehran's international airport, and a direct hit on a major Iranian nuclear site. So clearly not just a slap on the wrist. This was a tactical decapitation. The entire emergency power grid supporting the enrichment facility gone. Backup systems destroyed, smoke rising from Tehran, and Iran Supreme Leader furious, calling it an act of war, threatening escalation. But here's the key. Trump knew it was coming. He wasn't caught off guard. He wasn't surprised. In fact, when the Wall Street Journal asked if he had a heads up, he said, "Heads up. I knew what was going on." He knew what was going on. So here's the thing, guys. U.S. warships, they are entering the region. Iran threatens oil checkpoints. Sleeper cells may already be in place right here in the United States on U.S. soil. And the nuclear talks, dead in the water. You don't want to miss this. So as Iran licked its wounds and Israel essentially tightened its perimeter, President Trump, he made his next move. U.S. warships were repositioned, not just for show, not for diplomacy, but for deterrence, for dominance. Navy strike groups are now stationed in two critical zones: the Eastern Mediterranean, within reach of Tehran, and the Strait of Hormuz, which is a narrow waterway responsible for nearly 20% of the world's oil supply. And what's Iran doing? Well, they're threatening to shut it down. For years, this threat would have caused panic in DC. Oil prices would spike, NATO would panic, the UN would beg for peace. But under Trump, calm, steady, unmoved. Basically, he didn't even care. He made it pretty clear. Iran must not have a nuclear weapon, period. And if they escalate, if they move to strike back with terror proxies or attempt to activate sleeper cells on U.S. soil, let's just say that this president is not in the business of empty warnings. In fact, intelligence sources are now warning that sleeper agents may already be in position. Years of open border chaos and lax enforcement left holes, and Iran may just try to exploit them. Here's the thing, guys. President Trump expected this. He's ready. And if that wasn't enough, Iran has now officially walked away from the sixth round of nuclear talks. Negotiations over. The diplomatic mask is off at this point, and President Trump's response, "I knew it was coming." So let's zoom out for a second. Look at the timing, guys. In the same week that President Trump crushes California's EV mandate, Iran erupts, America responds, and the world suddenly sees a different kind of leadership. This wasn't chaos. This wasn't random. This was a coordinated two-front strategy. Strike the same route at home, shut down the experimental agenda designed to collapse U.S. infrastructure and industry, project power abroad, make it crystal clear. If you attack our allies, America will hit back. This is the new doctrine. I want you to understand, this is not about managing decline, guys. It's about reversing it decisively, permanently, and without apology. And that, folks, that is why this week matters more than any headline you're going to see from CNN, MSNBC, or even the New York Times. Because this was a turning point. This was a week where President Trump didn't just react, he led. So here's the truth. He warned us. He warned us that California's climate agenda was a Trojan horse. He warned us that enemies like Iran were waiting for weakness. He warned us that if America didn't wake up, we would be hit by all sides. And now, I think we're wide awake, aren't we? And we're watching a president who's not afraid to act. So what happens next, right? Well, that's a good question. That depends on us, really. Because at this point, I want to ask you a really important question. Do you think President Trump's two-front strategy is exactly what we needed? Do you support the warships move, or should we go even further into this thing? Guys, hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who still believes all of this is just a coincidence. Because now they know better. This was never just about California. This was never just about Iran. This was about saving the country. And ladies and gentlemen, President Trump just took the first two shots. Reach out to our friends over at Chapter, link in the description down below. See how much money they can save you on your Medicare, and we'll see you guys on the next video.